Hello, Collin. It's time for our CO visit. Circuit
How's it going?
Overseers in the
Hello,
house.
in the house.
Yeah, thanks for
Have my
coming.
trusty coffee
Oh my
always.
gosh, me too. My trusty coffee. It's my LA
Yeah,
cup.
very
Yeah,
good.
this morning we're going to be talking about the CSA cases going on right now in Pennsylvania. I know that you posted a video yesterday talking a little bit more about that in depth, but
Yeah,
I want to talk with you about it and have a conversation about what's going on inside of the Jehovah's Witness organization and how it's impacting lives all over the place, and also how it's impacted my life and how it's impacted you as an advocate and an ally for people that have been through this abuse. So,
yeah.
um,
Well, thank you, Elle, first of all, for I'm really excited. I'm so happy that we got to finally connect
yeah,
and meet each other face to face through the miracle of social media. And yeah, with this topic, it's a very difficult topic. It's a very difficult topic. I think for any of us that have children, anybody as a parent, wants to protect their children.
mhm,
And one of the worst possible things that could happen is having your children hurt in any way, especially in this way. I think of all the ways the CSA is, and I think because of YouTube, we'll use acronyms like that because you know how YouTube is.
yeah, yeah,
They don't like certain, especially with ads and things like that. They get real testy when it comes to certain topics,
yeah.
which is sad. It's sad that the this commercial system is that way. But the CS abuse is probably one of the most destructive, traumatic types of abuse that exists
Mhm.
because of the long-term emotional, mental consequences that it has in the life of a child.
Yep.
And and so what I was talking about in the video yesterday as well is how the dynamic in an organization, a religious organization, gives like basically a fertile ground for these type of people that engage in this type of abuse to flourish.
Mhm.
And of course, this is not the Watchtower Society does not have the monopoly on these types of cases. This type of abuse doesn't have there is no just one place. This happens in religious organizations. It happens in schools. It happens in on teams. There's no particular social status, religious belief, economic status, ethnicity, nationality. It's pretty much wherever there are human beings, this is going to happen.
Yeah.
However,
Can you tell me what you mean by that when you say it? Did you say, I almost heard you say like fertile ground? Is that true? For
yes.
like how,
So
can you tell me how that is? Because for the people out
yeah,
there watching that don't understand what you mean by that, I just wanted them to
yeah.
understand.
So basically, what abusers look for, particularly in the case where it involves minor children, they are going to look for any type of whether it be a job, whether it be a religious organization, a church, anything like that, where they are going to be in contact with children.
Mhm.
So they're going to find a place where they can get into contact with children all the time on a regular basis. So that means that they're going to be a part of something. They're going to be a part of, they're going to be working at a school. They're going to be volunteering. They're going to be, a member of something, a member of a church.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter what it is. They will literally do anything, whatever they have to do. They put on this kind of veneer, this screen of normalness in being involved in one of these things, but really their end game is to be able to have contact with minor children.
Mhm.
And so, in the case of course, we're talking specifically about Jehovah's Witnesses. People become Jehovah's Witnesses. You have children in the congregation, and of course, what is the best opportunity that you could possibly have to have one-on-one time with children? Well, it's being in a position of authority in the congregation. So ministerial servants, elders, pioneers, any of those combinations
Mhm.
are going to afford you a position in the congregation where people look to you as you are the guides, you are the pastors, you are the ones who are, responsible in the congregation. So people look up to you, they trust you, and that's going to give you situations where you will be able to be alone with children. That can happen because of, I need to go over the baptism questions. I need to talk to Junior alone here in the elders room. I need to do this. We need to spend time together. Oh, let's go fishing. It's an elder, right? What could possibly go wrong? And
Mhm.
so there's just there's a endless amount of different ways they can use that position to need to get together with young ones or even young children by themselves.
Mhm.
And of course, I think in your time, my time, when we were growing up, that was very common.
Yeah. And how
And your
about
parents wouldn't think twice about it.
yeah, or
If it was an elder,
the
yeah,
fatherless children as well.
yeah,
Care for the
right.
fatherless children.
And you know what? It can be something like I think you gave, if you allow me, and excuse me if I'm
Oh, you're
crossing
done.
my boundaries here, but you mentioned it in the video.
Hmm.
Something as simple as, okay, you set things up, you like a puppet master, right? You're in a car group, and you're the one who's making the car groups, and conveniently you
Hmm.
make the car group, or you're going to be with this sister or this little brother or this whoever it is that you want to be with, right? And all of a sudden the other sisters go out of the car, and you're sitting in the car alone with this person, and then some touching happens, or some, whatever the case might be. So this is what they're crafting this whole situation in order to make moments where they can be alone with this person.
Hmm.
And of course, that's going to escalate as it goes
Hmm.
to get what they really want. So it's a power play. And what I think is really interesting is, I changed my whole point of view as I watched different videos and I watched experts talking about, for example, rape. Okay, where you have to get out of your head that rape has anything to do with a sexual act. It doesn't. It has nothing to do with that. Oh, a person gratifying themselves. But no, it's all about
Hmm.
control. It's about
Power
power.
play.
It's
Hmm.
about one person overpowering another person
Yeah.
and then psychologically oppressing them and having them under their thumb,
Hmm.
right? And then causing a victim where now you have this controller victim type relationship. And that's what it's all about. It's about controlling people,
Hmm. Hmm.
because you see this all through, you see it happen in the animal kingdom. You see it happen in prisons. You see it happen in, it's a question of dominance is what it is.
Hmm.
People controlling each other. So when you think about why, for example, going back to the cases that happened in Pennsylvania, okay, out of the group of people, and the video's there if anyone wants to go watch it, it's there. But of the case of, there was about 6, 7 names that they mentioned specifically of indictments that happened. And of those, that group, there were 2 of them at least. They didn't give all the details of the rest of them, but at least 2 of them were elders.
Hmm.
See, the people outside of the organization, like the attorney general, they don't always focus on those details,
Hmm.
which to us, that's really important because, oh, this guy was an elder. That's a very important detail
Right.
because that's why their sentences were so heavy. I think one of them that I mentioned specifically, he can do minimum no less than 12 years, and the maximum is 23. So, depending on the circumstances or what other information comes up later on that might make that even more, this guy is going to go to jail for the next 2 decades,
Okay.
and he's already like 65.
Hmm.
So, pretty much that's a death sentence. That's a
Yeah.
life in prison.
Yeah.
And why is that? Why is it so severe? because there's a factor in there that aggravates it, where it's a person taking advantage of their position of trust,
Mhm.
which was the big word that the attorney general uses, trust.
Mhm.
Not necessarily authority or anything else, but because of your position of authority,
Mhm.
and you're a person like a counselor, a pastor, a priest, a doctor, that you go there and they're going to have very intimate contact with you. They're going to hear things from you, problems you're having, family problems, things like that. And you implicitly trust that person.
Yeah. The inside scoop.
Right, right. So that person um, has a great, great responsibility on their shoulders. That's why the clergy in Christianity, the clergy has this priest or pastor secrecy privilege that they have,
Okay.
and that's because they cannot talk to that about with just anybody because they have to listen to all this private information of a whole congregation,
Mhm.
and they have to swear to secrecy about that because you can imagine if all that got out and what would happen. So, but the problem is the real reason behind all of that is they don't want to have responsibility before the authorities. They want to avoid lawsuits. They want to avoid losing money. That's what the real reason is. They don't care about you. They don't care about anything else. What the organization wants to avoid is exactly what's happening right now. Their biggest nightmare is having their name out there linked to this type of abuse, which for a brand is certain death
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
any type of business, right? And so now we see why and how the organization is trying to distance themselves from all of this stuff, which I think why Uncle Tony was all of a sudden he was separated from, the he
Yeah.
was dethroned
Where's
from
he
being a
at?
king.
Right.
Yeah,
Where'd he go?
right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And in your case, El,
Mhm.
I think it's also really important to make a link here, a personal link, because we're here and this might be very difficult.
No, it's
But
I
people need to see the real deal. People need to see
yeah.
and you went through this and you had a personal experience
Mhm.
one on one
Mhm.
dealing with this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And
like you told me, how were you treated?
mm,
You were shunned, right?
let me just tell you though. Okay, so and not only did I have the experience once, but it was many times. So when I was being abused, when I was younger, no, nobody came to save me. And in fact,
Uh-huh.
I don't know, this is what my mom had told me, but that I was abused by my dad, and um, they they forced my mom to stay with my dad. So the abuse
Yeah.
still happened. He wasn't a believer. And then when I was a young girl, it happened again with two young teenage boys that were part of the congregation. And I was young, I was probably 7 or so, and they were teenagers, and nothing ever happened. They were never punished for this. My mom said that their mom beat them with a broom. That's
Yeah.
all that
Yeah.
happened. I was a little
Oh
girl.
yeah.
And so by the time my mom met my stepdad, when I was a teenager, when I was 16 years old, um, that information was open to him. And so I guess my mom had shared with him that I had been abused when I was younger, and which really set me up to for him to really prey on me.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
she met him, and then they were married within a few weeks because, as Jehovah's Witnesses, that's what people do.
Yeah.
As long as that person is like a witness, like it's like, you know. So yeah, they were married in a very short amount of time, which is a horrible idea. It's a terrible thing because we never knew this guy. And so then when he was a part of our family, he ended up cornering me one day and told me that he only married my mom because he was in love with me. And
Wow. Yeah. And that's very common. Yep. He wanted to get to you.
mhm, yeah.
Yep.
And so when I had gone to the elders, um, yeah, he was disfellowshipped, and then I was put on public reproof. Somehow I was made out like, it was my fault, right?
Yeah.
Because, Yeah, probably because I'd been
Yeah, you
abused.
tempted him. Like you did all this stuff.
Yeah, and almost kind of like it made me feel so shameful for decades because I'm thinking, why does this stuff keep happening to me? Why am I abused as a little girl and then abused again, and then abused again? Like, and then so when they did disfellowship me because I talked to him again, they said, if you talk to him, you will be disfellowshipped. Well, he called my house. I answered. That's back in the days where you pick up the phone off the wall. You don't know who's calling, right? And I
Yeah,
honest
yeah,
Jehovah's Witness. I'm like, yeah, and I talked to him, and they're like, oh, you're done for. So they disfellowshipped me, and yeah, I thought that there was something wrong with me. I for decades I
right,
believed that it was my fault because otherwise, why would so many men abuse me over so many years, right? So
right.
it took me a lots and lots of years to work through this shame. It's taken a lot of coaching, a lot of therapy, a lot of journaling, reflection, reading books. It's taken a lot
Yeah,
really to lift up the
absolutely.
shame, and that's why on my channel you're going to notice me talking about a lot of stuff that people are not cool with and they're not
Yeah,
comfortable with, and the reason that I do that is to lift the shame because the more that we talk about this stuff, the more that we can, and for me, even today, to say these things, it's like, just because these things happen to me doesn't mean it's part of me, right?
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not a bad person because I was disfellowshipped at 16
right.
because my dad abused me, my stepdad abused me.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with me. And in fact, when I had gone through therapy, the thing that helped me the most was learning from my therapist that it would have happened to any girl. It wasn't me. It wasn't my body because for a long time I thought it was my body was the problem. If I
Hmm.
don't look this certain way, because you know how we're taught in the Kingdom Hall, like, oh, make sure your dress is long enough and you keep everything
Yes.
up to here and don't be too showy and just because you don't want to tempt somebody, because you don't want to stumble them, because maybe if that
Hmm.
happened, it would be your fault. And so that's what I was led to believe, even though I've always been a lover of turtlenecks, okay? And I'm not like the kind of woman that is like having my cleavage out and I'm
Yeah,
just not
yeah,
that way. But I was
yeah.
led to believe that I was at fault for what I did because I was shunned. And so I just want to be clear with people when I say shunned, what I mean is that there was the organization that we were a part of that we were not allowed to be anything. I was not allowed to have friends outside of the organization. uh,
Yeah.
I was not allowed to talk to other people outside of my religion. I wasn't even allowed to talk to my family for my whole life because a big part of my family was not witnesses. And
Yes.
so I was very much secluded and kept in this little tiny space. And so what happened is that when I was disfellowshipped at 16 years old, I was thrown out into this world that I had no clue how to
Right.
operate. I did not know what was going on, and I lost everything. I lost my
Absolutely.
family, my faith, my friends. I mean, I'm a 16-year-old girl going to high school. I'm a good kid. Like, I was
Yes.
a good kid.
Yes.
And
Yes.
for me to just be thrown out like that, it caused me a lot of doubt over the years. And I've put myself through therapy and I've worked my way through it. But man, I
Yeah.
just, yeah, I have been on
Yeah.
that side of it. And so I just kind of wanted to,
Absolutely.
yeah, explain, that experience for me. But man,
It's very
it,
important.
anybody out there that's going through it, it's not your fault.
That's
Your
right.
it's not your body's fault.
And there's a lot of people out there that want to have their heads in the sand,
Hmm.
and they just want to not, especially Jehovah's Witnesses, because number one, they don't know what to do about it.
Yeah,
Okay. And so because they don't know, they don't, and this is a very typical Jehovah's Witness thing that we've talked about. People just don't want to be uncomfortable
yeah.
and they don't want to deal with things. So let's just not. So guess what? On our channels,
Let's talk
well,
about it.
get ready for it because you're going to be uncomfortable a lot. And you know what, Elle, you're absolutely right. And there's one thing that, and I know you've worked through this, but you know what? It's always okay. Every time you can hear it from somebody else, it's never too much. It's
Mm,
always good to hear it from somebody else, right?
yeah.
But you have to understand, and this is for you, and it's for all the other L's out there,
Mm,
right? That are out there and that are either going through this or went through it, whatever stage they're at in that experience, that this never was anything about you.
mm,
It never was about you. The organization is a victim blamer. It always has been. And you never, ever blame the victim in a situation. And number two, you never make the decision, you never make the victim make decisions.
mm,
The person who is responsible, who is in control of the situation, that's giving you help has to be the one to make decisions, not throw it on you.
right.
Okay. So there were a whole number of people in your life that failed.
Mm, yeah.
And God rest their soul, but your mother failed.
Yeah. She
The
did.
organization failed.
Yeah.
The elders failed. And this whole idea of, like that's very typical. Oh, you don't, if you call him, if you talk to him, because it's like when two people are going to get separated or whatever. Well, if you have sex again, that means you're back together.
Mm,
That's the, oh, if you do that, then that's, you forgave him. And it's not always that easy. It's
mm,
not always quite that simple.
mm,
And this was a grown man who knew what he was doing. He made these moves, going as far as getting with your mother to be with you. Okay.
oh,
And it would have been you in that situation. And the next one, after he got disfellowshipped and left, it's the next, there's another victim. There's going to be another one here, another one. It's not just you.
yeah.
These people will, wherever they go, if they have the opportunity, okay, this is not something that can be cured with these people. It
Yeah.
will never change. So that's something that you just have to keep telling yourself. And as much as I can tell you, and I hope that you
No,
convince yourself of this, it's not your fault. It's
yeah. And
not
but
your
I
fault. It never was.
thank you. Because, it
Never
took
was.
me, and that's why I wanted to do this video for anybody out there feeling like, oh, it's my
Yes.
fault. Did I do something? Did I accidentally touch him? He would want to hold my hand at the Kingdom Hall after the song when we would say prayer, but he would want to sit next to me and he would hold my
Yeah.
hand. And so it's so disgusting. And
It was the micro pleasures.
yeah,
Any
he
little contact, any little, yeah,
Yeah, and he already knew what happened with my dad, right? And he already knew what
yeah,
had happened with these other teenage boys. So he knew that I was prime, like, oh, that's a good one to abuse. And my mom
yes,
was just so she did fail me, but I also feel like she was so like love struck. She just couldn't even
sure.
really she couldn't see what was going on. And I mean, I couldn't even tell her because she was just so blind to all of
Right,
but
right.
what happened when I was disfellowshipped at 16 is that that was the time that I had my very first nervous breakdown. I've had two in my life.
Yeah,
I had a
yeah,
nervous breakdown at 16
sure.
because she decided that, and I think maybe I decided too because it was so humiliating and embarrassing that I just wanted to leave to go to California to be with my grandma. And she
Yeah,
said, that's fine. And I think she encouraged it. I can hardly remember, but I just remember people in the congregation like, nobody would look at me. I'm a victim. Like, I have
yes,
been abused. I've
yes,
suffered abuse and made it seem now it's like because of me. Like, I did something and I'd go to the Kingdom Hall and nobody would talk to me, nobody would look at me. And these are all of my people. This is like my whole community, my family, everybody.
yes, yes,
And I'm hurting. Like I've just
yes,
been abused and there's nowhere to turn. So yeah, it took me about, I don't know, let's see, probably over 20 years for me to not, um,
yeah,
to get past it because
absolutely.
I really held on to the guilt and I really held it like I did something wrong. And so because of that, lots of toxic relationships. If you've
Oh,
ever
yes,
my
oh,
channel,
yes, absolutely.
toxic relationships, drug abuse, I've been through it, homelessness, just you name it, like I've been there. And that's why
I
I have
don't. I
my
hear
channel.
you.
So I want to talk about it. And I also want to
Yes,
show like you can go from here to here. Like I have healed. I am moving on. I'm still doing that. And I'm still in the
yes.
process of clearing the space for myself.
And
So
you know, one of the things I want to talk to as well is this
yeah.
whole thing about when you go through those situations, like when the witnesses, when the organization and the governing body says, "Oh, if you leave the truth, this is going to happen to you. You're going to do this and that. You're going to get into drugs and demons and and you're like," and I say, "Yeah, and what? So what? What if I do?"
Mhm.
And a lot of us have. But you
Yeah.
know why that's so sinister and so sadistic for them to say that? Because they know what they're doing when they
Yeah.
cut somebody off causes that kind of reaction in a person. But
Yeah.
you know what? Those things aren't bad to me. It's not bad to me. A
Uh,
lot of people go through those situations. Okay, so you go through some horrible relationships. You
yeah.
go through some, maybe you get into drinking, you get into drugs, you get into this, you get into that. And what?
Mhm.
You know what? All of those things
Yeah. You
are
learn.
experiences.
Mhm.
They're learning experiences. They change you. And a lot of that right here,
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
here, this guy right here, I went through that. All
Yeah.
of it, all of the above, all that you just mentioned, went through it. Been there, done that. Okay.
Well,
And
they told us that's what was going to happen. So
yes,
I
and you
was
know
like
what?
acting it out, you know?
Thank God we came out on the other side of it. And sorry, the noise here. We've been able to come out on the other side of it. We turned our lives around. We have, well, in my case, it took a long time, but I finally found a person that compliments me, and our lives changed completely, and we're stable and doing better than ever now, and all of that
Yeah. Yeah.
without being witnesses, and all of those things happen in life. That's what the human experience is all about.
Yeah. I
And
think,
what's the big deal, right?
well, I
Everybody
think
goes through these things.
yeah, as witnesses, we were always taught to delay any sort of gratification. Where it's like, oh, it's going to be better someday. Oh, everything's going to be fixed one of these days. Oh, if
Yeah.
we hang in there just a little bit longer, and so we live this life of like everyday sort of deprivation, believing that that's the way life was supposed to be. We were supposed to feel like shit.
Yes.
Because one day we're going to feel so good, right? And so, of course, we turn to things like drugs, alcohol, sex, like shitty relationships, like all the things. Of course,
Yep.
we did because we're
Yep.
supposed to suffer, right? Aren't we supposed to suffer? Because it wasn't
Yeah.
until the new system that we were supposed to feel better. So
Right.
now, like with me coaching people, this is such a huge thing. It's a huge thing to know that it's okay to feel terrible. It's okay to feel sad, angry, mad, resentful, bitter, like all the things. Like we have got to feel these emotions and stop pushing them down. Because if we just
Mhm.
if we don't go through those emotions, then we are never going to get to the other side of working through things.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We
Absolutely.
have to. We have
Yeah.
to. We
And the
have to
whole
realize
reason, the
I
whole
was gonna,
reason we're here, the whole reason we're doing this is because what's going on with the organization right now and what's been coming out, and this has
Mhm,
been going on for decades,
mhm,
the buck has to stop here.
mhm,
We have to be the voice
mhm.
and say, no farther.
Yeah.
It's enough. We have to speak out, and we're going to keep speaking out. And everybody is putting in their little grain of sand.
Yeah.
Every video that goes out there, every experience that you tell, every new channel that pops up, everybody that tells their XJW story, it's one more
Yeah.
kink in the armor, right?
Yeah. I
Against the
say it's one more
organization.
brick. I say it's one more
Yep,
brick to bring down the watchtower.
that's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And until, because you know what? I don't think in any meaningful way, I don't think that's ever going to change.
Yeah.
It's either going to get exposed and brought down, or, well, we'll just keep doing what we're doing to make people aware of it
Mhm.
because people are coming out. There is a phenomenon
Oh
of
my gosh.
people,
It's
and
it's insane. I know.
it is. And
It's
so
awesome.
we
It's
have to be the
amazing.
ones to continue doing this to give them a place to come to and give
Yeah.
them a voice.
Yeah.
And because I know, like in your case, when all this, so many correlations with my daughter, Cosette, who's
Hmm.
16 right now, and I am not going to permit this to happen.
Yeah.
I will not let this happen. And she already experienced some abuse in a way by getting denied, being able to do like her apprenticeship because of the fact that she left the religion, and that caused me to have to go, make file a grievance with human rights, and which in the end it might have that opportunity might still be open to her after all. Uh, we don't know yet. We'll see what happens this coming year when they get into that to see if she can still go to that bank and do her apprenticeship.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I heard
I'm
about
not going to
that.
sit by idly and let this happen to her.
Yeah. Yeah.
I won't do it because I don't want her to have to give up anything in her life for this organization
Yeah. Yeah.
because you get absolutely nothing back for it. Oh, like they always
There's
said, oh,
nothing.
you have your
There's
paradise now? Are
nothing.
you storing up now, or are you storing up for the new system? This new system that never comes, that never happens. And all the while we look back and go, oh my God, like in my case, I'm 43 now.
Mhm.
And where did it all go?
Yeah. Yeah.
And we did so many things I let go
Yeah.
that fell by the wayside that I could have done in the moment, but I let it go because, oh, the end's almost here and this
Because
and
one
that.
day, and that's what I want to come back to is like the one day, one day we're
Yeah,
going to feel better. Well, let me tell you, Colin, I spent over 10 years outside of the organization before I went back at 40 years old. And when I went back at 40 years old, holy shit, there were so many people that were depressed. Oh, I'm depressed. I'm anxious. Oh, I'm the people that are like morbidly obese. Like it was
yeah.
so crazy when I went back
You're like, what do
because
I come back to? What is this?
it was like so obvious to me, and because there had been so many years that I hadn't been exposed to it at all. I just
Yeah,
been raised that way. Anyways, you know my story. But here's the thing, and so I wanted to kind of go back to that, is we were
yeah,
never taught that we could experience negative and like negative emotions and positive emotions. We were just taught to delay the positive emotions, right? And so I think witnesses are so ingrained that I mean, I work with clients all the time that are like, I kind of want to feel like shit. This is kind of like
yeah.
how they feel because we were made
Can
to,
you
we were
imagine?
it's just so backwards. It's so backwards. Yeah, most people that
Yeah,
it's the opposite, right? But with my coaching, what I've noticed is it's a lot of like, I deserve to be punished. I probably deserve death.
yeah,
And when it gets to
yeah.
that, now we gotta get into some some a little bit heavier therapy and things like that. But the thing
Yeah.
is, like, we were taught to feel like so shameful, sinful, like we had done something wrong. And then especially when we leave, yeah, then feeling that even
You're
more.
done. Yeah,
And then
you're
you feel
dead.
like you feel like you're doing it right. We should feel
Right.
terrible all the time. That's how we were made to feel inside the organization. And delay any sort of joy or anything. Don't dance too much, don't sing too loud, don't, don't have
Yep.
too much fun, don't do the
Yep.
celebrate holidays, any of that stuff, right? Because any sort of joy and satisfaction, that is for the new world. But let me tell you, people listen. This is the life right now. This is right
Yeah.
now. We get to experience a lot of joy and a lot of sadness, and there's nothing wrong with that. And like you were saying, and that's what brought it up for me, is the human experience. We are exactly perfectly human right now. We did not have to wait until the new world. It's not coming anyways, but the real world, the real life, it's now. And if you miss out on feeling like negative emotions or even positive emotions, you're really going to miss out. And it's so
Yeah.
sad. And that's why I really want to get the message out to people to that you're doing it exactly perfect. We're human. You're perfect already. Stop it.
Yes. Yes. Stop. The self-deprecating, putting yourself down. I don't deserve this. We don't deserve this. We're
Yeah.
sinners. We're
Yeah.
we're we're enemies of God. We're separated.
Mhm.
And all of that is the manipulation that these organizations use. And now the
Controllable.
multi-level marketing ones, these businesses use them as well.
Mhm.
religious organizations use them because they study this stuff. They know about it
Well, they
and they
keep
know
us
that
in
it's
this
an
low
effective
vibe.
way. It keeps you down, right?
Yeah, because when we were, this is the way that we were programmed for me if from infancy, right? To be
Yes.
very low vibe into this shame, fear, and guilt. I mean, to me,
Yep.
this feels very normal. And for me to
Yeah.
go on in my life and to really like raise it up to this higher vibe level where I can let more high vibe things come in, it doesn't feel comfortable sometimes. It doesn't feel
Yeah.
it feels good for even for me and I but the thing is I recognize it is for me to be in toxic relationships, for me to be in shitty situations, for me to do
Yeah.
mean things to myself. Like for many, many, many years, and even now, like I still have to be very conscious of it. Like, why is it that I choose that?
Yes. Yes.
And it goes right back to the religion, and that's why
Right.
it's so,
Because of the self-esteem's down here. And when you've been in that kind of a situation all the time, you
Mhm.
think that, well, I don't really, I'm not going to get anything better anyway. I don't deserve better,
Yeah,
you
well,
know?
it's
And
very
so
comfortable. It's comfortable to
yeah,
be abused. It's comfortable to be treated the way that, the how the organization treated you. So the more work that we do on ourselves, and that's what I help my clients do, and that's what I help myself too. I'm not out there saying like I have everything figured out. The thing is I know how to figure things out. And that's the difference. And to be able to recognize it and see like, oh, that I kind of want to change that thing. I don't think that's healthy for me. That's the difference to be aware because awareness is everything. And once you see it, you can't unsee it.
absolutely. Absolutely. And all the CO visit folks out there that are watching this, y'all need to subscribe to this lady right here.
Oh,
Okay.
thank you.
And we need because they're and I'm just doing what I'm doing, but I'm really not the go-to guy. You know, we all do what we do. We tell our stories. We talk about certain subjects, but I'm just another guy out there struggling and fighting just like everybody else, right?
Mhm,
And you have the know-with-all and expertise now too, and with your life experience as well, which
mhm,
is why there was and I told this in my exit story of how there was a substance abuse therapist who was absolutely my guardian angel,
oh,
who used to be in the past, he was a drug dealer.
uh, I think
And
I've heard the story.
he turned his life around and he became a Christian. Then he went back to school, became a therapist, got his degree in psychology. And so this is a dangerous mofo. This is a guy who he's got the street smarts and, turned his life around and now got educated.
And wisdom.
And there was no way you were hiding, pulling the wool over this guy's eyes. He
Mhm,
knew. And when I got into therapy with this guy, and I told this story when in my videos about how he checkmated me in about 2 seconds. I started going into I went back to my normal like POMI, I say the physically out, mentally in, which is the
yeah,
worst absolute situation you can
I
be
heard
in, where
that
you're
for a
out of the organization
while.
and you're
Mhm,
still defending it. And I
yeah.
was like that. And I start like we're in this one-on-one and I'm start to go back to my talking about scriptures and talking about the Bible and all this. And he's just like, hold on a second. He's like, wait a minute. He's like, okay, so what I'm trying to understand here is you've got this and that, you've got this, Jehovah, he's the only God, and he chose you, and you're his only people, and you have the paradise, you're gonna get resurrected, and only you guys are gonna survive, and oh my God, right? And he's like, so you got all that going for you. So
Mhm.
he's like, but you're here with me. And he's like, why are you in so much pain then?
Mhm.
And I'm just like, sat there and just literally was like, it was like, it was like Windows reset, like
Mhm.
literally, I couldn't find an answer. And
I,
why I just broke down crying because
yeah,
he was right.
yeah.
He was right. It's like, why am I trying to kill myself?
Mhm.
And yet I'm supposed to be, the happiest people on earth. We're Jehovah's people, and it's like, I was so miserable.
Yeah.
I
Well,
was so miserable.
we never knew
I was
what happiness
abusing.
was. We
Yeah,
never
I was
knew what
abusing
true
these prescription
happiness.
drugs. I was
Mhm,
drinking. I was all this chaos going on in my life.
mhm.
And here I am sitting there with a therapist and trying to preach to him. How fucked up do you have to be? to actually believe. And when you start listening to yourself and you go, oh my God, what am I doing?
You
You
thought you
know,
knew the truth. That's what.
yeah. And it's
Yeah,
just, it's so absurd, and
I
it's just
know.
like, oh my, it's like, yeah, well, that's exactly why the organization doesn't want you going there, because absolutely you're going to figure it out for yourself that that is what's making you miserable,
Mhm.
trying to live up to these standards and jump through these hoops and all
Mhm.
this stuff you give up. And it was like, wow, but he never, it's not like, oh, you're going to go to the therapist and they're going to try to convince you that no, you get there on your own.
Mhm.
All they do is they put the doors there in front of you, and they put the keys out, and you find out yourself. You open them up,
Yeah,
and it's a crazy thing when you get to that moment where your eyes just open and you
yeah.
go, what am I doing? You know, what am I
Yeah,
doing? So yeah, and that's a powerful thing.
yeah. We only
It's
have
a
so
very
much
powerful
life.
thing.
So
Yeah,
there's no reason to delay how we were taught to just delay, 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 delay.
yeah.
It's like, no, this is life right now, and that is such an
Take
important
advantage of it.
thing. Yeah. Let's not
Now, live
let's not
now.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wait. And I think for anybody out there that's kind of like, I don't know. I don't know if I believe that. Do your research, please. Please
Yep.
just the truth doesn't mind being questioned. I like to say that often because I just talked with some witnesses this morning. They're doing their little cart witnessing,
Oh,
and
oh yeah.
I was talking to them. I have the video. It'll anyway. The video before this one will show it, me kind of
Sure,
talking about
sure.
that. But I like to get people thinking, like why are we delaying? But they think that they're happy because and they put on this facade like they're happy because that's the only happiness you've ever known. The only happiness you've ever known is for me, it was going to square dance at the Grange and for going to a potluck going out service. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like for me, that was like a real joy. I didn't even know the real joy of life until I left.
yeah,
And I'm not saying it's all sunshine and roses. It's not, but at least it's authentic. At
that's
least
right.
you're living life instead of not even knowing what happiness is, and instead of always feeling terrible and wondering why, you're not, I don't know, why are you overweight? Why are you depressed? Why are you on medication? Why are you in these
Hmm.
relationships you shouldn't be in? Just question it.
Yeah, that's right. That's the key word. It's authentic. You're
Yeah.
going through it. Hey, and it's not all roses and perfect being a witness either. It's
Hmm.
no different.
Hmm.
But when we're on this side
Yeah.
and you're making your own decisions, and they might be good, they might be bad, but you know what? At the end of the day, it's just you.
Yeah. And that's what my
It's
channel's
not
all
because I
about.
did it because of this
Mhm.
or because of that because
Yeah.
I got told I had to do this. You're making your own decisions. You're living life, and you know what, guys out there, is it's just like that Creedence song, Creedence Clearwater, that said, "Someday never comes."
Mm,
You're always thinking about, oh, someday this, someday the new system, someday guess what? It never happens. You got to live today. It's the
yeah.
only reality is right now. That's the only real thing. Tomorrow, we don't know yet. Yesterday's gone.
Yep.
So you got to live today and take every advantage of what life throws at you and just do it and live it and experience it.
Yeah. And what if you don't know how to live though? What if you don't even know?
Yeah,
Then,
well, that's part of the journey, right? You have to,
mhm.
that's where you come in. You can teach people
Yeah.
they got to figure that out and figure out how to let themselves
Live.
experience things. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the coolest thing though. I'll tell you
Yeah.
what, it's the coolest thing. Like I was talking about that this morning on this video that I did about, the investment that I've made in myself. Over time, it's a time investment, it's a money investment, it's a real like conscious decision. And when somebody decides, oh, I really want to change my life, I think I might be able to do that. And maybe you need a little bit of help. I could help you. We have groups, there's groups
Yes.
out there on Facebook that are amazing. I did not have this when I was disfellowshipped at 16, but there is so much
Yeah.
out. There's tons of books. I even have this book here. Um, this is by
Excellent.
it's a healing handbook. And sometimes I mean, I love reading books and just kind of, from ex-witnesses and just kind of extracting information, mixing it in with my coaching and seeing what we can make out of it. But there's so much help out here. And so what I'm saying to everybody
There
out
is.
is like, let's live life already. Like, stop waiting. And if you need help, ask for help. Join the
That's
group.
right.
Yeah.
And you know what, El? It's okay. It's okay for you on this video to do some publicity for yourself because you're gonna have my people watching as
Oh,
well. They're on my side. So because you got, different groups and also since you're doing coaching and therapy and all that,
mhm.
also there's a paid sessions as well. So what can people do to get in touch with you
Oh,
if
yeah.
they need that?
I just believe in it so deeply. That's why I just can't help myself but to say it. But the way they can get in contact with me is on my website has everything, but it's elrenocoaching.com. It's the same for everything. elrenocoaching@gmail.com. Elre
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
Take
my
note.
website.
Take note.
Oh, and we can put a link probably in below. I also have
Yeah,
a healing group for ex-Jehovah's Witnesses that's free.
excellent.
If you're a witness, or an ex-witness, you can join it. Even if you're trying to escape the religion, you can join it and get a lot of amazing advice. We have such good people in there. I also have a
Yeah,
women's group that I developed for ex-Jehovah's Witness women. I called it the best half, and so we can live the best half of our life.
absolutely.
Okay. It's not the most perfect half of our life, but it's the most authentic and it is the best part.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. 'Cause I had a person, and if this person's watching right now, forgive me because I can't remember the name, but made a comment, and then we had several interactions, and it seemed like I'm assuming it was probably a young lady that was right around that age, maybe around 19 years old right now, 18, 19, that had just left, and she was feeling very like just low self-esteem, very bad.
mm,
And so if that person's listening, hey, get in touch with Elle, talk to her,
yeah,
um,
yeah,
and talk to somebody. It's okay to go through that. It's okay. And I told the person to, it's okay if you're feeling like doing this or doing that or just going off the rails. Just yes, do it. Get it out of your system. Act out. Get all that stuff has to happen.
mhm.
Okay, it
And
has
we
to
were never,
happen. You have to go through like a grieving process. You
mhm.
have to go through all of those emotions and all that stuff, but do it in a safer, controlled environment.
Yeah,
Okay,
because
because it can become self-destructive. But
yeah,
but
with the
I
negative,
hope anybody out there that's watching
mhm,
on the channel that has any pending things in your life, emotional things from the past, because you had some videos about cleaning out your closet. Let's clean out those proverbial closets and get rid of that stuff in there because once you do that and you start cutting off that dead weight that you're holding on to,
mhm.
it's like they say when I was going to therapy about the hanging onto the rope and it's burning your hand.
Yeah, yeah,
You have to let go of it. You have to
let
let
go,
go because it's
let
just
go.
hurting you.
Yeah.
Yep,
And we only get so much life. This is it, people. There's no dress rehearsals. This is it. This is actual real life. And one of my
absolutely.
deepest, most personal values is authenticity. I just want to be me, and I want you
Yes.
to be you. That's why I love your channel because it's like you're just like you got your trusty coffee and you're like F this and
Yeah.
and this ain't right and this is it's like, hey, let's talk about it. And people really do enjoy just
Yeah.
hearing like
You
this
take
is
it or leave it,
real
right? This is
life.
what you do. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Because it's just I think especially right now, you know how things are going right now, especially with everything, especially in the US, which
Mhm.
is just insanity. It's bedlam. It's
Mhm.
bedlam. And with social media now and everything is so fake, you don't know what anymore, what's real, what's not, what
Yeah.
everything. There's so much just fake stuff on social media, and now AI is out there, and we need more real stuff.
Yeah.
We
Well,
need more just raw, just get out there and just say it like it is, and that's what people I think gravitate towards.
I think so too, because as a ex-witness, I mean, think about it. As a witness, we were taught like be very honest, be honest.
Yeah,
So I kind of carried that with me, a little
yeah.
bit.
Well,
But
that's not bad either. You
it's
have to say some of
okay.
the good
It's
things too,
okay.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
but I think that for us that it's almost like it's easier for us. We're used to being on stage in the public eye. We're used to being rejected and knocking on people's doors. We're used to telling the truth when it's not comfortable. We're used to speaking out in fearlessness. Remember that song?
yes. Oh my goodness. Oh, flashbacks. Oh,
We know how to do that, though. That's what
yeah,
I'm saying. We have a lot of these amazing qualities that were developed in us in the organization that we can take with us and we can use them.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So thank you so much for this time together today,
Thank
Collin.
you.
Aw.
Thank you for having me on. And I think this has been a very meaningful
Mhm.
conversation.
Yeah.
Very deep, very real,
So
emotional.
totally.
Yeah, that's why because it is real.
That's what we have to do
It
because it
is
is
real.
real. Yeah,
Yes,
and I know that it's not just my story and it's not just your story. There's so many people out here that are waiting to hear. And there's a lot of people that can speak up and people that can't. I'm a person that can speak up. And so I do for the people that can't. And
that's right.
until they can, I will be that voice. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Mm.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much.
Well, Elle, I think, and hopefully this will be the first and not the last get together. There's another one get
Yeah,
together that we
get
have.
together.
Yeah,
As
and
long as it's not a nasty
talk about
potluck,
things.
okay?
Yeah, right. That's what we got to do. But hopefully, we can have more sessions like this in the future, and I think it'll be a really good thing, and
Yeah.
people will enjoy it.
Yeah, let's talk about the hot topics. So, yeah, to all the people that are going through all of this BS, with this case going on in Pennsylvania, like, you know, they're in my thoughts and in my prayers. And I
Absolutely.
know what it's like to be in that position, not exactly, and not in a court case, because mine was never brought to court. It was just covered up. But
Yeah.
I feel for them. And I know that a lot of light is going to be exposed on the organization through this. So that's my
Yeah.
wish. All right. Thank you, Colin.